definitely would have to get like a better audio setup, I think, but yeah, I could definitely do that. And oh yeah, good news, guys. I have the first art for Jen. I had an artist draw Jen for stickers, so I will be making some Jen stickers. I just have to find. Yeah, I fixed it. Can you hear me now, Belle? I forgot about my microphone. Did I watch any more Maul? No, I have not had time. I had to emergency defrost my freezer today. And if you're going, how do you have an emergency? So I was gonna move some stuff from the freezer that's in the house, like in the kitchen, over to the deep freezer because I was running out of room for the kitchen freezer. And I was like, I just was gonna like switch some things around. Like some of the foods that the kids eat a lot, I was gonna move them out of the deep freezer and put them in the regular freezer, blah, blah, blah. So I was moving everything around. And I go out to the garage to open up the deep freeze, and the door was frozen shut. And the entire upper shelf, it's been a while since I've been in the deep freezer. The entire upper shelf of the deep freeze was a glacier. I should have taken a picture because it looked ridiculous. So like it was just one big giant block of ice. I guess there was a leak or something inside my freezer. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm hoping my freezer still works. I don't really want to buy a new freezer right now. But yeah, I ended up having to defrost the freezer. Yeah. So that was fun. And it took a really long time to get all of I actually ended up getting out my heat gun. All the food is good. Like everything is still like frozen solid. Nothing looked like it had gotten water inside of it and had unfrozen. So as far as it looks, everything looked fine. I mean, a couple of my husband's he likes those healthy request or healthy choice bowls. He takes them to work as lunch. I had to throw some of those out because they got wet. Um, but yeah. So other than that, everything seems good. Probably a bad seal. Yeah, probably. We probably need to get a new seal on it. Um, I don't even know how to like put a new seal on the freezer. I'll look into it. Um, so Belle says over on the tube, I heard Corona is gonna happen again. No, it's not. I hope not. Oh dear Lord, no. Well, on one hand, hey Fintali, on one hand I'm like, no, not again, not again. We still have PTSD from COVID, but um, but at the same time, I miss working from home permanently. Your free 99 Whirlpool from the 80s is still running strong. Nice! My parents had one of those, like my dad, when his office closed down, this is back in the 90s, they were getting rid of the building, and apparently there was a fridge in the break room. They're like, anybody can take it. So my dad took it. He found a truck and he loaded up in the truck and took the fridge. That thing lived for so long. Oh my gosh. It was the drinks fridge at my house for like 20 years, and then it finally died. So that thing was like a 40-year-old fridge that lasted forever. It was that ugly yellow. It was like this mustard yellow, probably from the 80s or the 70s. Another pandemic might be the world telling us that natural selection is in order. I I don't want it to happen. Like I don't because of like our healthcare industry, not even industry, our healthcare system has still not recovered, right? Um, did you see the Tatooine voted to add more seats to the Senate? It cut the largest Jawa population. Yeah, I saw that. And the court system is not happy. Yeah, I'm so anybody who wants to Yeah. See, that's the part that's got me is like a lot of people are going to suffer. To quote Padme, a lot of people will suffer and die while we discuss this as a committee. And the thing that's really getting me and why I don't, on top of all the other stuff, why a pandemic is bad. I look at it from the standpoint of what is the current state of our leaders and their experience with pandemics and infectious disease and all of those things, and I'm not real confident on people's abilities. So yeah. I That's the part that's got me a little I'm not super confident on the current state of our leaders in the healthcare industry. Voting rights for humans only. Jawas deserve a vote too. Yeah, but the thing is, the thing is with that, Luna, is primarily the people who will suffer the most are the people who won't necessarily take precautions. And those are the people that mostly support that side. And I saw a video today, I think it was MGD Hawk who was talking about it, is like healthcare and science has become a political issue, and that's dumb. Which I agree. Yes, I know, and that's the problem. They're going to choke out the system that is already overtaxed. And saying people only want to work hard and pay taxes. Yeah, exactly. That's the part that gets me. They want it to happen. I think there was one person I was like, I think it's because they can maintain power. If we're all afraid and stuck in our homes, they have more power. They can do more than we can. Then if it's there's a whole lot. Yeah, I had to get into some fights when I was sewing masks the first time round. When I was sewing the masks, I went up and I started researching cloth masks. Um, and I even went so far as to look at materials to use. For example, you should not make masks out of knit material. The stretchy stuff that t-shirts are made of. Um, you should make them from woven fabrics, which is like what a quilt is made from. Um, and the thing that I ended up doing was I put microfiber in all of my masks. And the reason I did this was I found a couple studies done long before 2020 about the efficacy of materials in reducing viral transmissions. And the biggest one was a study done at Oxford University. Ah, thank you, Victor. It was a study from Oxford University that was talking about the best materials to make a cloth face mask from in the event of needing homemade PPE. And this was like April. So like I was starting that, like I started making masks and researching like materials to use to best make a mask out of in April. I was like, I have a sewing machine, I have a crap ton of fabric. Let's go. My mom got in on it and my mother-in-law got in on it cuz they were we didn't stop seeing my mom and my mother-in-law mainly because my husband and I still had to work. The kids were home and I had a toddler. I did not have, like the luxury of being able to work and take care of the toddler. And so my mother-in-law and my mom were still over every day. Like we didn't stop seeing each other. Aw, thank you for the rose, Gary. Um, and so the thing is that I ended up, the reason why I used microfiber cloth is it is electrostatic filtration. And then I had, so my masks were all 3 layers. It was a microfiber. And then I had like a wicking fabric, kind of like what you would make athletic wear out of to like keep sweat off of you. And then I had the like decorative fabric on the outside. And I made close to 1,000. I mean, between me, my mom, and my mother-in-law, we made close to 1,000. Um, it was a lot. We were on it. Like we had a whole system. Like my office turned into a so like I had my work computer, and then I had my home computer, and then I had my sewing machine, and I was basically like twirling around for days at a time just trying to do everything at once. It was insane. It was so insane. You're the heroes. I was just a sewer. I had a sewing machine and I knew how to sew. All I did was make masks. Yes, I have read World War Z. I loved World War Z. Also, if you've ever read the audiobook for World War Z, it's fantastic, and Mark Hamill reads some of it. Just saying. Um, yeah. So, I actually have World War Z. It's downstairs. And if you didn't know, the guy who wrote World War Z also wrote the Zombie Survival Guide. Um, isn't that the one where they took out everybody's teeth? So that you couldn't, yeah, that's the, North Korea took out everybody's teeth so that, you couldn't bite someone if you were infected. Ow. They cut off communication? Which country? Maybe it was China that cut out everybody, that removed everybody's teeth. One of the Asian countries removed everybody's teeth, to stop people from being able to bite. I was so mad at the movie, though. The movie was like awful in comparison to the book. Like the movie just did not even come close to how awesome the book was. Of pulling out everybody's teeth? I mean, yeah. Yeah, the only similarity was the title. Although, I would point out that How to Train Your Dragon is exactly the same. How to Train Your Dragon, other than character names and a title, everything else is different. And I've read all of the How to Train Your Dragon. Well, I had the How to Train Your Dragon books read to me by David Tennant, but yeah. Yeah, Tony, I sometimes feel that way. Um, I often feel that way, but at the same time, I I can't I can't do that. Like I can't. There was somebody over the winter that needed help. Um like they had lost their job, and they were, because of the tariffs and all this kind of stuff, and they were really really struggling, and there was like it was someone at our church, and they needed money to put gas in their car so that they could survive. Um and I hesitated giving them money to help their issue because I was really conflicted. I was There was that part of me that's like I don't want to say, oh, because I'm a good person. I don't want to say it like that because that sounds like I'm a good person. No, it's not like that. It's, I like to help people. Like that's just on my heart. Like that's something that I do. But at the same time, he voted for this. And so the petty part in me was like, you wanted this, so now you've got it. And I in the end I ended up helping because I can't, I can be angry, but my anger is on me. Like I just it I it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. Like I called my mom, who was conservative, which didn't help. But I called my mom and I was like, I don't know what's the right answer, Mom. And she's like, does it really matter who they voted for? I'm like, shut up, Mom. Not about that. This is not a political issue. I mean, it is, but it's not. And she goes, you know what's right. And I said, I know what's right, but I want to be petty. Would they have helped you if the roles were reversed? This particular person, yes, 100%. They would. So, but I guess I'm not that person who's like, well, if they'll help me, then I'll help them. Like, it's not like that. I don't think that offering assistance when necessary is reciprocal, but I don't know. It's something I talked about in therapy. He's like, it's because you care. I was like, I care about people, regardless of whether or not it's kind of like when people like my mother or others are like, well, you hate Palpatine. And I'm like, I mean, yeah. Well, no, I don't. I hate the person. Yes, that's part of me. I hate what they're doing even more. But I, part of it is also like because of my faith, I can't be like this angry off. I can be angry, but I cannot be vindictive and like that. I feel like that's, I don't know. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be like them. That's the that's the part. That's the part that gets me every time. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be hateful and angry and awful because I'm upset. I don't that's the part that really that's where it is. I don't want to be like them. And so I have to I understand that when they go when they go low, we go high. I still hold on to that. You have a 10-year-old who is a big Star Wars fan. Book recommendations. When I was 10, I read the Jedi Academy books. They're old. They're not considered canon anymore. They're Legends timeline, but the Jedi Academy books are really, really great for young readers. I also it's a standalone book. It's called The Crystal Star. I really like that one. Again, it's post-imperial. I don't think I've read the Padme books. I don't know. I think Rise of the Red Blade is a little too violent. It's good. Oh, I know. This is a shameless book plug. Well, hang on. Does your kiddo like the prequels? It's important to know this. Does your kiddo like the prequels, like Attack of the Clones and stuff like, and Phantom Menace and whatnot? And are they fans of Jedi? Because it's people like I love the prequels. Are you insane? The Phantom Menace is my favorite Star Wars movie, which is why I don't hate on people who really, really like the sequels. They're not my favorite, but everybody has a favorite Star Wars, and if your favorite is The Force Awakens, you're incorrect, but I'm not going to yuck your yum. Hi, Brandon. I love Palpatine, but don't particularly. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Galaxy's Edge East may be changing May the 4th to a ticketed event, rumored for now, but not official. That would be kind of cool. I would pay for the ticketed event. It's probably, yeah. But anyway, if your kiddo likes the prequels and they like the Jedi, it's called The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. It's the Jedi Council goes on vacation. We actually read that book. What was that? We finished that one before Death Trooper, so we read that one last year. The author is really, really good. Loved him. I'm trying to think of some of the other books that we've read. I don't know if there's any like other ones that we've read. I mean, Plagueis isn't bad. I mean, if you want to start them on the Skywalker saga from the beginning, then it would definitely be Darth Plagueis. But To your point, Belle, I think Palpatine was less evil. Honestly, he was less evil. He just was. He's less evil. Yeah. I've never read the Thrawn trilogy. Everything else is cinematic. What about Rogue One? Hey Joshua, what about Rogue One? You hate Rogue One too? You can't hate Rogue One. Rogue One was cinematic awesomeness. See, for me, it goes to number 1 is The Phantom Menace. Number 2 is Attack of the Clones, cuz Hayden. Number 3 is Rogue One because it's better. Number 4 is Revenge of the Sith. And then number 5, it changes in like number 5 is the original trilogy all in tied. Because I love all of them. Rogue One is your favorite outside of the originals. Yeah, Rogue One was really good. And then of course I always love The Mandalorian. Love The Mandalorian. Oh, I love him. Love him so much. I even like the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, there were some parts of the Book of Boba Fett that were not great. But I did like the Book of Boba Fett too. Because I'm sorry, but Tamora Morrison, despite his age, is still sexy as hell. That, yummy. Oops, sorry. We need to comb the desert. Yeah. So, but I have a thing for guys in armor. I mean, case in point. uh Is that what happened to the Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, I'm gonna get. Yeah, that would make sense, Brandon. You had. What took Babs so long to watch it? Well, Babs isn't really a Star Wars fan. She's more high fantasy. She just made a book recommendation. It's like a 10-part series of spicy books that are in the same. They're not officially reverse harem books, but they're pretty darn close, which has me very excited. I love reverse harem. That's my favorite trope. Just saying. If I could have one of my own, it would be Mando and Boba Fett. My own. They needed certain things from Rangers, so it got put into Boba Fett. I don't understand why they killed Rangers. Rangers would have been awesome. I'm still not sure about yeah, that's true, Belle. Um any thoughts on Starfighter? I don't I'm not super familiar into Starfighter. I'll admit I have not gotten to look at it super closely yet. Um I'm excited. I am apprehensively excited for the Mandalorian movie. I mean, for obvious reasons, because of how much I love Mando. I'm really excited for the Mandalorian movie, but I do not think that the Mandalorian movie is going to do well. And the reason why is because I don't think the Mandalorian story will benefit from being in a movie format as opposed to a 10 episode show. Um I don't I think the movie's going to be good, but I just don't foresee it being as good as a movie as it does as a show. I don't think it's going to go. And I know that Disney's like, we're going to get away from our shows and go to movies. No. No. Go. Thank you for the roses. Um it's not. I don't think it's gonna do well. I just don't think it's gonna do as well as we hope. Yes, they do, and it's one of the reasons why I get really upset over what's happening. Yeah, the Gina Carano thing was awful. Like I'm still mad at her. I'm still mad at her. Like she could. I wish they'd recast it. I just want them to recast it. Do Alona Mare. You know the girl I'm talking about? She's on Dancing with the Stars. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's Alona Mar, the rugby queen. Yes, get her and just completely recast Cara Dune and have her as Cara Dune. It would be freaking amazing because I think she's got like that. Because Gina Carano's got like the sass, right? Like that's part of the reason why she was good in the role. She had the sass going on. So you need someone who's sassy like that. Um, I'm telling you, Alona Mare as Cara Dune, come on, that would be awesome. And then we could have like an entire Cara Dune show, which we were supposed to have. Gina Carano messed it up. Mm-hmm. So mad at that. No. No. Keep her far away from Star Wars. She is not a good. She is not. She is. I am not Sabrina Carpenter's biggest fan right now. She was a very bad girl recently. Mm-mm. Don't have Sabrina Carpenter in Star Wars. She's too controversial. But I'm telling you, Alona Mare, I'm calling it. I'm calling it. Alona Mare as Cara Dune. Just recast it. It would be so awesome. Or did they kill her? What did she do? Oh, she put out a bunch of like turf stuff. I think that's the right term, right? I think turf is the right term. That was like not great. Or are you talking about Sabrina Carpenter? Are you talking about Gina Carano or are you talking about Sabrina Carpenter? We do need more Star Wars IP. We do. We do. We need more Star Wars IPs. Oh, Sabrina. What did Sabrina do? Oh, she was being a little is it racist? Like I'm not sure how to describe what she did. I'm going to go with it was racist. It was just kind of racist. And she's someone who has Disney media training. Yeah. No, she's not an imp. She was at a concert and she just like stopped the concert to like shout some racist stuff at people in the crowd. Not great. Not great. Um which makes me so sad because I really like Sabrina Carpenter and now I'm like, "Oh, she's racist too." Oh, okay. Is there anybody left that I can like? Ugh. Also, I didn't realize that she was on Girl Meets World. Yeah. So, yeah, Gina Carano is a TERF, and that's why she got canceled. So, yeah. Anyway, I promised you guys to read tonight, and I need to let my freezer continue to get cold. So I'm glad that we could talk, because hopefully by the time that I'm done reading, my freezer will be freezing, and then I can put all of the food back in it. Because right now the food is sitting in a bunch of coolers in my garage. I wish it was colder outside. No, I don't. I'm freezing. My house is freezing. But I dress like this because I can't sleep in like lots of layers because I can't control my body temperature correctly, and so I sleep with like a bunch of blankets so that I can like adjust the temperature accordingly over while I'm sleeping. Also, I sleep in a burrito. The running joke is I sleep in a burrito, the 7-layer burrito, because there's me, top sheet, heated blanket, comforter, weighted blanket. It's I'm like a Crunchwrap Supreme. Yeah. All right. I agree with you, Tony. I feel like the talking is how the only way we're gonna get through this. I mean, I hate to say that we're all in this together. It's kind of like that. I think the only way we're gonna be able to get through it is to talk it out. All right. Chapter 70. Oh, by the way, if you're new here, hi. This book does get a little violent. Okay? The guy who wrote this also wrote Death Troopers, and he is really good at describing violent and gory scenes. So just, if you have a weak stomach, maybe come back when we start Queen's Peril. This is going to be our next book. All right. The Killing Moon. Wait. Vosa held up her fist without glancing back at the Bandogora warriors, who stood behind her, and they came to a halt. They'd made their way up from the hangar and toward the prison's main holding level, encountering almost no resistance from the remaining residents of this place. Not that she'd expected any. These inmates seemed to be dying faster and faster around them, dropping to their knees with so much as a whimper. The corpses, the smell of them, reminded her of Bogdan, the burial moon where so much had changed for her. Of the handful of armed maniacs they'd confronted in the prison's utility corridors, only one or two of them had presented the slightest challenge to her soldiers. Using their staffs, the Gora had grunted them and ripped them to shreds, accomplishing Vosa's bidding with the mindless, unwavering obedience to which she herself had enslaved them. It had happened quickly. A streaking storm of violence, then stillness. Watching them go about their dark and bloody work brought her no sense of pride, although it did appear some dark and atavistic hunger within her, a need to establish dominance over the situation and impose her will upon it. For her, stability and power would be a matter of conquest, the relentless commitment to absolute mastery. After what had happened with the Jedi and her former master, she would never allow herself to feel out of control again. It would be a form of suicide. Now she stood motionless, her mind reaching out into the rippling currents of the Force until she became aware of its pronounced disturbance. Maul was here. Closer than she'd hoped. And after she had found him and taken possession of the weapon that she'd been summoned here to acquire, she would kill him. Gladly. This way, she instructed them, giving the order silently, a telekinetic command that sent them down a corridor. Her heart was beating faster now, driving her forward, and it might have been that sense of reckless urgency that allowed her to walk into what happened next. Rounding the corner, she saw it, the thing to which her force sensibilities had somehow been blinded. On either side, her warriors froze in their tracks. The creature in front of them was a colossal, gelded horror, its engorged presence filling the entire concourse in front of them. Vosa realized that it was some kind of rolling white worm, 5 meters high and perhaps 3 times as long. 5 meters high, holy cow, that's huge. Its hooked, leech-like mouth currently filled with the still squirming bodies of the inmates it had just devoured. The thing rounded on them, raising its hideous blind head with a sudden jerk that caused the severe lower half of the torso it had been eating to fall back out onto the floor. When it lunged forward, mouth parts peeling back, the Gora attacked it with their staffs, strafing it with balls of energy that exploded off the worm's slick and pulsating skin without stopping it. It recoiled, flattening itself against the floor, then shot forward again with speed that defined its great, dripping bulk. Before Vosa could command her soldiers to step back, the worm opened its mouth, sucking 2 of the warriors into its maw. Vosa activated her lightsaber and dove at it, slashing both blades across the thing's flesh. She carved deep lacerations into its underside. Pale yellow fluid came trickling out, sticky and viscous, and with it, Vosa realized, that she could hear the voice, or voices, of the worm inside her head, a tangled litany of threats and pleas for mercy. Jedi, Jedi is here. Kill us, Jedi, set us free. Rip your lungs from your chest and tear the scream from your lips. Devour you whole. Vosa sprang at it again, her blades coming to life in a grinding, gyroscopic storm of Jarkai technique that had saved her so well in the past. Spinning both blades in the rising whirlwind maneuver, she launched a frontal attack on the worm's underbelly. Its innards spilled out, layers of pulsating fat and vessels sluicing outward to fill the open corridor around her ankles. Throughout it all, Vosa didn't yield or even slow her attack. Rather, she gave herself over to it completely, allowing the killing rage to transport into a state of weightless abandon. Badly wounded, the thing reared back again as if what she had done had introduced it to pain that it had never known before. It jerked sideways and went slithering backward through an open hole in the wall behind it. For a moment, Vosa stood with both lightsabers still activated and her army behind her, all of them waiting for what might happen next. Had the thing run off where to die? In that instant, she allowed herself to think that the battle, this part of it at least, might be over. When the ceiling moved around her, her soldiers, as one, lifted their heads and looked up. When the ceiling blasted open, the whirl came spilling down on top of them with deafening crash, flattening the warriors in an avalanche of flesh. Yeah. At once, Vosa knew she had underestimated the thing's cunning, and now she understood what those tangled voices in her head had represented. The configuration of inmate sensibilities, survival skills, and pure, vicious instinct that compromised its hive mind. The last of the Bandogora warriors edged back, clutching their staffs, and momentarily shaken and awaiting new orders. Vosa waited, facing off against the thing herself. The worm lifted its head, its mandibles clicking and snapping audibly with a spastic, giddy eagerness. From the distance, Vosa could see that the cuts she'd inflicted on it had already begun to crust over and heal. Then it opened its mouth, unhinging its jaw to the widest possible extent. The result was hideous. In that moment, the thing actually seemed to become all mouth. Need a drink. Until the entire front of its head was nothing more than the enormous gaping black hole that for an instant loomed as wide as the corridor itself. This time, even the Bandogora were not fast enough. Sucking in, the word inhaled them all in a great slurping vacuum, clearing the space around Vosa in the space of a heartbeat. Yet she stood her ground, lightsabers ready, reaching out to the thing or whatever element of sentience it might have possessed. "What are you?" she asked aloud, startled by the sound of her own voice. And although she'd hardly expected an answer, one was forthcoming, put forth in an outburst of varying tones and inflections. "We are that which you fear most." Vosa drew in a breath, a terrible coldness spreading through her like nothing she'd felt since the early days of Bogdan, when the Gora torturers had worked day and night to break her spirit, crush her body, and drive her to the brink of insanity, and ultimately beyond, into what she'd become now. The moment was excruciating, like it was looking into a mirror and seeing her two selves, who she had once been under Dooku in the Jedi Council, and what she'd become. Her own pitiless face reflected back at her in the soulless, grasping mandibles of the blind and unstoppable predator. "We are you." "No," she managed, but it was too late. It came at her again in one quick lunge, and Vosa reacted without thought, using an instinctive burst of force push to drive herself backward up the corridor, opening up 20-meter gap between herself and the thing. It was enough time and space to allow her to hit the floor on a dead run and not look back. Looking back on the vertiginous moments when time itself had become a blur and conscious thought was utterly lost to her, Vosa remembered little. She had never fled from another opponent like that before, which was perhaps why it felt so utterly disorienting. It was so much the worm that she was trying to outrun, but what the thing had promised her within itself, a final resting place where her identity would be descended into the mark of murderers, crime lords, tyrants, and anonymous scum, whose agonies would ultimately become a familiar to her and her own. In the end, she would just be another voice crying out from the inside of the great, swollen tube of the thing's being. Resolve came quickly. No one would ever be allowed to know what had happened here. There was no reason to speak of it. Coming here had been a mistake. She had been preparing to leave, to find her way back down to the ship, when she heard screams coming from up the corridor, and in the silence that followed, the voice of the one she had been sent to meet. Maul. No, I don't think they're Time Lords. But that would be cool! Time Lords in Star Wars? I like that idea. Chapter 71. The sum of its parts. The medical droid was nowhere to be found. Wait, Egan was saying. He put down the end of the crate and was now pacing quickly through the medbay, searching for the GH-7, as if the droid might be gone into hiding somewhere. You said that it could deactivate the charges. Where did it go? Maul said nothing. He assumed that Radique would meet them up here to use whatever inside influence he had to disarm the explosives in his chest. He knew from Radique's expression that he wanted Maul's insight on the lightsabers, which meant that the arms dealer needed to keep him alive, at least long enough to... Crack! The walls shook hard enough that Maul had to steady himself against the hatchway. By now, the entire prison was rocking steadily around them, the tremors coming with such violence and frequency that they never really seemed to stop. Gaps were opening in the joinery overhead, where exposed wires spat and fumed with sparks. Jagannath. Maul turned to look over to where they had already stopped in his tracks. Staring down at the scorched pile of processors and components scattered haphazardly across the floor. What was left looked so little like a droid that they'd stepped right over it before. The GH-7's head and manipulator arms had been blasted off completely, and the rest of its circuitry seemed to have caught fire and melted into slag. What happened to it? Egan asked, his tone splintering with near panic. We have to fix it! Oh, it is? I didn't know that, but now I have to look for it. That's impossible, the low voice said behind them. Maul and Egan turned to look at the hatchways through which they'd entered. Radique was standing there, blue skin gleaming, glaring at them coldly. Maul watched as Radique spread his arms wide, allowing his clawbirds to land on him, a dozen or more perched from shoulders to wrist on either side. The feathered black bodies and piercing soulless eyes were a visual echo of his own. They made low, restless, hungry sounds. What happened to the surgical droid? Egan asked. Blasted to pieces by hostile inmates would be my guess, Radique said. Not that it matters now. You're inmate 10,009, aren't you? Raising his face back up to meet Egan's desperate expression, Radique shook his head. I think your number is up. No! The boy yelled and swung out his fist at the weapons dealer, but the punch was wild, and Radique saw it coming with plenty of time to duck. The clawbirds on his arms took immediate flight, cawing and shrieking as they swept down on Egan, going for his eyes. The boy swung his arms furiously, trying to ward them off, but there were too many of them. Over his shoulder, Maul could hear the hungry, greedy noises they made as they pecked at the boy's face and hands. All around him, the medbay shook harder, as if stirred to life by the attack. Maul's arm shot out, grabbing Radique by his black tunic and jerking him close. Call them off! Then he felt it, the lightsaber activating in Radique's hand. Radique raised it up in front of him and swung it at Maul. Maul ducked, the blade humming over his head. One final match, Radique said, stepping forward. I think Warden Blur would have approved, don't you? He paused to admire the blade in his hands. You do amazing work, Jagannath, you know that? You must tell me your secret. Come closer, Maul said, and I will. Radique's lips quirked into a slight smile. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Maul just looked at him, his red eyes measuring the distance between them. When it comes to weapons, Radique continued, I am a proud man. But, he turned the blade from right to left, inspecting it more closely from all angles. I have no problem acknowledging the work of a fellow master's hand when I see it. Surely it's not just a matter of the geological compressor. So tell me, Jagannath, how is it that you knew exactly what my synth crystals required in order to become fully functional? Maul moved all at once, gripping the bank of diagnostic equipment behind him. He leaned back and swung his right foot up, driving it hard into Radique's chest. With a sudden grunt, Radique flew backward, crashing into the far wall. The lightsaber squirming out of his hands. Maul caught it in the air and swung it just around as the clawbirds came to him from all sides, dive-bombing his face and throat, their talons and beaks assaulting him. He whirled, and the red blade becoming a blur, cutting the birds down around him as they screamed and cawed and swooped. Within seconds, the air was full of black feathers drifting downward. Maul kicked their bodies aside and brought the tip of the blade down to where Radique was sprawled on the floor, head to the side, exposing the throbbing vein in his neck. Jagannath, another voice managed, and from somewhere behind him, Maul heard a soft thud. Keeping his blade close to Radik's throat, Maul glanced around where Egan had fallen. The boy's once smooth face was cross-hatched nightmare of cuts and scratches from the bird's attack, but that wasn't what had killed him. He lay motionless on the floor, not far from the disassembled droid that could have saved him. It was over for the boy, Maul saw. Egan's eyes were still open, but their whites were already beginning to glaze. His lips were slightly parted, as if he'd still been trying to say something, make some final pronouncement or plea when the charges had finally gone off in his heart. Too bad, Radik shook his head. Not that he didn't deserve it. His father was a worthless waste of skin, and so was he. He raised his head back up to Maul. Shall we continue our fight? Maul looked down at Egan's body one last time. In the end, he felt no obligation to the boy himself. Compassion and pity were as alien to him as they'd ever been. Yet Egan stood with him in the end, and something about his death needed to be set to rights. He brought the lightsaber closer to Radik's throat. This match is over. Radik grinned. Not yet. Maul didn't see the blaster until it went off in Radik's hand. It was a pocket model, small enough that Radik must have been able to hide it in his sleeve. The shot caught Maul point blank in the meat of his right shoulder, ripping through the muscle and knocking him backward into the wild sunburst pattern of his own blood. The lightsaber, Radik said. Give it back to me, now. Maul tried to move his right arm, flexing his fingers. With the tissue and nerve damage in his shoulder, he was not at all sure that he could get the lightsaber out and cut Radik down before he fired again. At this distance, one shot was all you'd need. Suit yourself. Radik leveled the blaster at his face. Then I'll take it off your corpse. Maul saw his grip tighten to the weapon, the knuckle constricting visibly behind the trigger guard, and heard a sudden grunt as the boy sprang up from the floor and threw himself at Radik. The arms dealer hadn't seen him coming from that angle, and Egan was fast enough to knock him flat, holding him to the floor while he groped for the blaster, twisting it around in his hand. No, Radik snarled, trying to elbow him off and push him away without releasing the blaster. No, no! The boy didn't bother wasting his breath, nor did he try to take the weapon from Radik. Jaw set, lips clamped tight, his bloody eyes fixed on the task at hand. Egan simply kept twisting the blaster until Maul heard the bones in Radik's wrist crack, until the barrel was prompted straight at his face. And it went off in a single blinding flash. Radik's head jerked sideways and disappeared in a cloud of blood and cranial matter that evacuated itself across the wall behind them. The corpse slumped sideways into a sagging pile, the boy pulling himself from it, then drawing himself upward into a standing position. Wiping his hands on his pants, he drew in a low, shuddering breath. So now, he turned to Maul, I guess we're even. Maul glanced at the boy's chest, and Egan shrugged. In the medbay, the first time when my father and I tried to escape, the droid put a needle in my chest. It must have been enough to deactivate the charges. You knew? Maul asked. I wanted to be sure. Egan reached down and picked up the blaster from Radik's broken and stiffening fingers. How's your shoulder? Maul said nothing, and the boy tilted his chin upward, glancing abruptly behind him. That was when Maul became aware, suddenly, of another presence standing in the door of the medbay watching them. Her arrival had eluded him until the very last second, and by now he'd be recognized fully. Kamari Vosa. The name twisted from his lips like a curse. You have come. Oh, puzzle piece. There we go. And thus concludes our chapters for the night. Did I? Oh, that's because it's not working. I got an alert from Streamlabs today that it wasn't working. I'll have to fix it later. I haven't had time to mess with it today. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sleepy, and I still have a whole bunch of work to do downstairs. It has to be on all your screens. Oh. Okay. The stickers on my purple app. So I hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to sign off because I have to get all of the stuff that was in my freezer earlier today out of the coolers and back in the freezer before I go to bed. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I don't think we have D&D, because it was supposed to be last week, but then we didn't do it. So go get Brotherhood. I have the audiobook of Brotherhood. So yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. And that same thing goes